It affects our health. It's a life and death serious. I want to ask you to listen very carefully and to judge for yourselves. At the end of my statement, what action you must take as a responsible citizen in our country. I speak today on the COVID-19 pandemic and especially the AstraZeneca vaccines that is about to be rolled out next week in our country. I am calling on the Prime Minister, the Honorable James Marape, to immediately suspend the rollout of the COVID-19 AstraZeneca vaccines until all questions surrounding potential serious side effects are fully resolved. Let me repeat that again. I am calling on the Prime Minister, the Honorable James Marape, to immediately suspend the rollout of COVID-19 AstraZeneca vaccines until all questions surrounding potential serious side effects are fully resolved. I make this call as most countries of Europe and India have suspended all rollout of this particular vaccine after early reports of blood clotting. If Prime Minister James Marape insists on rolling out this vaccine, then I am calling on him and all his front bench cabinet ministers and their families to get vaccination first. I do not want to see our government exposing our citizens to potential serious harm and offering them up as laboratory rats and guinea pigs for further testing of this vaccine. I see a far more serious health crisis if the AstraZeneca because of our country's very weak and ill-equipped health system. Doctors and vaccine experts around the world are warning us that the vaccinations may lead to more harm than good, and we need to listen to these voices of caution very carefully. Unless the Prime Minister James Marape has independent scientific verification that these AstraZeneca vaccines are 100% safe for our citizens, for our people, he cannot risk our citizens. The numbers of our deaths are not sufficient or significant to press the panic button in our country. Let me repeat that again. The numbers of our deaths are not sufficient or significant for us to press that panic button. There are many underlying reasons They may be. Sorry, I'm saying they may be underlying reasons for the apparent that there is not enough testing. And even if they go for testing, the testing itself is so very expensive for our citizens. If there is not enough testing, as blamed by the executive government and its WHO advisors, daily number crunching of those tested, the national health situation is exactly the same as before the pandemic in our country. If anything, there is more health awareness now, which is the most positive outcome of the pandemic scare that we have in our country. If the Prime Minister insists on this rollout, then it is only right that Mr. Marape and his frontbench ministers and their families must undergo COVID-19 vaccination before any other Papua New Guinean is required to do so. The leadership should not expose the people of our country to a new experiment which full benefits and side effects are unknown fully on a global scale at present. Prime Minister James Marape, the Health Minister Jelta Won, Justice Minister Brian Kramer, COVID-19 Emergency Controller David Manning, and all their family members must undergo the vaccination and do publicly through a televised, live televised media. So we are convinced, we as a nation, we are convinced that the leadership has total faith in what it has prescribed for the people and has now acquired for Papua New Guinea. Until then, the nation should wait and see what benefits or side effects this AstraZeneca vaccine as on the Prime Minister, as on the Health Minister, the Justice Minister, and the Emergency Pandemic Controller, and their families. The government also has a duty to give full details of COVID-19 vaccine that is about to be rolled out in our country. So far, the government has not given the full details to our people. The government has mishandled the emergency right from the start, right from March 2020, when pandemic was first declared in our country, and has been operating in secrecy, hiding behind the COVID-19 Pandemic Act. The Prime Minister must now publish full details of the COVID-19 operations so far. And when I say full detail, I mean he must publish the acquittals, accounts and details of how those funds have been spent, especially the first 24 million kina, the 600 million kina rollout, the 1.2 billion soft loan from Australia, and all subsequent gifts, grants, and loans that this government, under the leadership of James Marape, has obtained and spent so far. Otherwise, we can rightly and with justification accuse the Prime Minister and his foreign advisors of fudging spikes in coronavirus infections as a gimmick to attract and spend funds dubiously on expenditures unrelated to the health pandemic. Let me repeat that again. Otherwise, we can rightly and with justification accuse the Prime Minister and his foreign advisors of fudging the spikes in coronavirus infections as a gimmick to attract and spend funding dubiously and on expenditures unrelated to the health pandemic. We just need to remind ourselves of Marape's WhatsApp message not too long ago to his Pangu Party members that he would do whatever it takes to return them to power in 2022. Marape wrote then, and I quote, "Brothers, we will win, so trust me. We will use Corona to reorganize what is essential to support our strategy for 2022, so each of you are better prepared." Let me read again that WhatsApp link from Pangu Party WhatsApp group. Marape wrote, and I quote, "Brothers, we will win, so trust me. We will use Corona to reorganize what is essential to support our strategy for 2022, so each of you are better prepared." In the absence of any reporting and any future plans or strategies, we can only conclude that the Prime Minister and his team are applying their election 2022 strategy. I say that again. In the absence of any reporting and any future plans or strategies, we can only conclude that the Prime Minister and his team are applying their election 2022 strategy. If the government is serious in addressing this issue, where are the plans and strategies? We are already 1 full year into the pandemic. This COVID-19 or coronavirus is here to stay. By now, we should have an immediate, a medium-term, and a long-term plans and strategies in place to mitigate the effects of COVID-19. There ought to be multiple scenarios, plotted and detailed responses to mitigate the effects of COVID-19. And we have to go along each scenario as it occurs and deal with it. Such strategies and plans must be set beside broader national health plans so resources are distributed fairly to combat older diseases such as malaria, pneumonia, tuberculosis, HIV/AIDS, and cancer, among other diseases that we have in our country. These diseases, too, are running amok amidst our population, each of them killing more people each day than all the COVID-19 deaths so far. So we are turning a blind eye on the older diseases. Our attention is diverted towards COVID-19, when in reality, these older diseases are causing amok, and there are more deaths in these older diseases than COVID-19 related deaths. such plans and strategies should include socio-economic strategies and rescue packages, because this is not just an health issue alone. It involves a whole of government and nation approach to deal with this situation. It must involve everyone. But thus far, opposition has not been engaged or approached to be engaged in this discussion or to offer alternative plans. Apart from the nuclear passing protocols, we need to inform our people on the full medical effect of this virus. We need to also inform our people on the full effect of this AstraZeneca vaccination that we are about to roll out in our country. We need to inform them how the virus enters and damages the body and the duration of this virus among other factors. The people need now to be told how effective the AstraZeneca vaccine is, how it fights the virus in the body, how often one needs to be vaccinated, or is it a one-off or once in a lifetime shot, such as for polio. We need to know. Our people need to know. Is there a guarantee of continued supply of this vaccine into the future? If not, will mixing of different vaccines have an effect on our people? What are these effects? These are the questions that a responsible government should be asking itself. Another important point is that 8,000 vaccines is way too few. While I do not want to look Australia's gift horse in the mouth, 8,000 doses is way too insignificant to make any difference. If they are really serious, the WHO or World Health Organization and the Prime Minister, James Marape, and his cohorts must acquire 8 million vaccines, which will be sufficient to cover the entire nation. If you ask me, this 8,000 vaccines is in reality a further experiment on the effectiveness of AstraZeneca vaccine upon a different demographic grouping. I hate to think that our limited number of frontline health workers will be subjected to this test. And it's a sad case scenario that's been put towards us. And it's been put towards our frontline health workers. The question now is, are our health workers, the frontline health workers, going to be the guinea pigs? What if something goes wrong and our frontline health workforce collapses because of this vaccination? Has the Prime Minister given this possibility some thought? This is something that is positively dangerous. Hospitals and health centers are stressed beyond capacity, not because of COVID-19 pandemic. I want to stress this. There has been a lot of information circulating in social media that our health systems and the hospitals are stressed because of COVID-19 pandemic. No. Hospitals and health centers are stressed beyond capacity, not because of COVID-19 patients, But because they are underfunded and under-equipped by the government, let's not kid ourselves. That's the reality. I have had minimum contact with the outside world and collect all the blood samples and antibodies. It might turn out that our people have been living with coronavirus or COVID-19 and have built natural immunity to it. It might be even proven that coronavirus has been here for hundreds of years. Or there might be other factors in our genes makeup which make our people naturally resilient to viral attacks of this nature. How else can we explain our people's apparent immunity so far? Unless we know this for certain backed by scientific facts, we are stumbling along around the world and judging by the manner in which we Papua New Guineans live. This is what I have been calling upon the government to do ever since the declaration of COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020. I have been calling on the government to give sufficient funding to PNG IMR, PNG Institute of Medical Research, to do this investigation and research. That is their job. I have never heard of any sufficient funding to Papua New Guinea Institute of Medical Research. That is their duty and responsibility. We need our own scientific information on what is happening in the world today, what is happening in our own country. It might well turn out that we have natural antibodies that we can offer the world as a cure rather than their drugs and vaccine. Just think about it. Thank you, and God save Papua New Guinea.
Thank you. We'll take some questions if you have.
What is your reaction to PNG doctors in the country, and including the Institute of Medical Research, IMR, supporting the vaccine rollout by the government for the health workers in the country.
I've said it. Give me the scientific proof. Give me the scientific proof about the benefits and the effects of this vaccine. The other question I want to put to them is this, our professionals, is that, have you done your testing yourself? Have you done it in order for you to tell your fellow citizens that yes, you can take it? We must do our own verification.
One question for me, Rose from NBC News. Leader, you've stressed a lot of good points with regards to the importation of COVID-19 vaccine into the country. With those questions surrounding the vaccines that you've made mention, as an opposition leader, do you have other alternative options that you think the government could apply in alleviating the crisis, the health crisis that we're faced with in terms of COVID-19?
Well, the government needs to come up with plans. Government needs to do more awareness, aggressive awareness. Lockdown is not the answer. Lockdown is not the answer. You are crippling the economy of your country. The approach that we would take if we were in government is to do more awareness and to fund PNG IMR to come up with that research and investigation. Why Papua New Guineans are not falling on the streets, and we seeing dead bodies under rain trees and mango trees in Boroko and in Gordon's Market and all these places. There must be a reason why, and only our health experts can give us those answers. And we do that through this body, the Papua New Guinea Institute of Medical Research. So I would be doing more awareness on the nuclear passing protocol and doing the research. And that's what I have said I'm going to sanction in my district, in Vanimo Green River District. And I will be liaising with the PNG Institute of Medical Research to give me researchers who can do this.
And are you, as a responsible opposition side and leader, are you willing to work with the government in handling this pandemic?
Am I willing to what?
Are you willing to?
So far we have not been approached. Government should be approaching opposition to assist in this global pandemic. It's a national emergency in our country, and we should work together in collaboration. But so far, like I said, operating in secrecy, they're hiding behind the Pandemic Act,